Hello, USA. This is Tommy Hagewood coming to you from sunny Leesburg, Florida, the Sunshine State. And I'm coming from Lakefront City, as Leesburg is often called. And this is April the 10th, 2020, and it's 81 degrees outside. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, I got up this morning at 7 o'clock a.m., rushed to get to the nearby Publix, which has a policy that old people can shop early to get their needed supplies, to get some toilet paper. What did I find? A line of people stretched outside the store halfway into next week. I drove across the street to Winn-Dixie, hoping to find some better luck. It was about the same. So I drove home and told my wife, boy, this COVID-19 has really put us under a burden. Then I came to my study and I read about some people who are really under a burden, a needless burden. Our burdens are minimal at best when compared to the true burdens these people are under. The passage is Matthew 11:28 through 30, one of my favorite passages. In verse 28, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." These people were weary and heavy laden by bearing the yoke of the law placed upon them by the religious leaders. You can see this from the immediate context of verses 25 through 27, in which Jesus speaks to his Father, who had hidden Jesus' true identity as the Son of God from the religious leaders, and had revealed it to those he calls babes. He goes on in verse 29 to describe how he removed these burdens from them. "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Jesus uses two commands to express how these babes can be relieved of their unbearable burdens. Take and learn. Jesus is gentle and lowly in heart, humble-minded, and his yoke fits. Now, a yoke was a heavy wooden bar placed on the neck of an ox to enable him to pull a cart or a plow. We're reminded of Jeremiah's use of the metaphor to tell the king and the false prophets that they would bear the yoke of heavy submission to Babylon in Jeremiah chapters 27 and 28. But coming back to our text, Jesus' yoke fits. It's like a pair of new shoes that fit perfectly versus a pair that doesn't fit and that rubs blisters on your feet. These people are told to take his yoke and to learn from him. In other words, Jesus is giving them instruction about discipleship. They must submit completely to his will. Then in verse 30, he tells them why. "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus is saying, in effect, are you tired of carrying the heavy load of the law as taught by your religious leaders? Then submit to me and put my yoke on and carry my burden. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Well, what can we take away from this passage? Jesus is not saying being a Christian is a piece of cake. It's extremely difficult, such as Matthew 7:13 and 14 and 2 Timothy 3 and verse 12 suggest. He is saying that being a disciple is a yoke that fits. This is why we exist, to fear God and keep his commandments, we're told in Ecclesiastes 12, verses 13 and 14. We exist on planet Earth to be yoked with Jesus, to bear his burden with him. Yoked together with Jesus is the only life to live. And that life begins when we're baptized with Christ and into him for the remission of our sins, as we note in Romans 6, 3 through 5 and Acts 2, verse 38. The Lord will take away the terrible burden of sin and the burden of the fear of death, as the Hebrew writer noted in chapter 2, verses 14 through 18, if we'll only take his yoke upon us. I hope these brief comments will pique your curiosity so that you will search the Scriptures, serve the Lord, and share the gospel with others. But until next time, this is Tommy Hagewood wishing you a very pleasant good day.